Hey guys, I figured we can try something different today and look at some of the spoilers over here for Battle of Zendikar. Check and see what cards that we may have to look forward to seeing in Modern, see what cards that we have to see as a Delver player, and what we can expect to fight against. Now, personally, I found this set kind of lackluster in the Mythic slots and the rare slots for playable cards in Modern. But there are a few good cards I think can make play, like a Gideon could definitely see play in a ally kind of shell. Maybe in a black-white tokens deck, just being able to put out knights, or just be able to put out an indestructible anthem. That's really good. Kiora, maybe in some sort of ramp deck. I don't see it though. Obnixilus, I doubt that green-black would use it. They would just rather have some Liliana. But the -3 destroy target creature is always nice. Reprint doesn't matter. This card is newer. It's, in my opinion, like a super Eternal Witness, but for 6 mana, I doubt it would see play. Quarantine Field, double X, white, yeah, junk rare, or junk mythic. Same thing with part the Water Veil. This card, Drana, Liberator of Malakir. This one I feel like actually has modern playability in some sort of ally deck or mono black aggro type shell. Just because she's able to pump all of your attackers, and they can be able to get through a lot of damage. And also, this right here allows it to be Collected Company. So I could see some sort of 5-color Collected Company deck that uses her and Gideon. That could be a pretty good deck that could show up like the Slivers deck did a few weeks ago. Akum Firebird, nope. Undergrowth Champion, I've heard this one for the mono green Stompy decks, but it, in my opinion, it's just not good enough. We can deal with it, and it's a Delver player, just because we have Terminate, because the ability to prevent damage just through lightning bolts, so Murderous Cut or Terminate or whatever kind of kill spell you got, that's not a damage dealing spell. This will take care of Undergrowth Champion like nothing. The Landfall guys, way too expensive to play. The Retreats, I only see Retreat to Coralhelm being playable, just in that new Knight of the Reliquary deck that's being popped up around the place. Just the ability to activate the Knight, dig out cards, and then just keep ability going, possibly getting your Knight to like a 20/20. So I feel like it could be seeing play. Probably won't be a tier 2 strategy. It'll probably just be one of those fringe-based strategies, but it could do some good. I feel like that's like the most playable card here. Veladar Sovereign out of the reprints, Painful Truths, just horrible. It could be played inside the Grixis Delver Shed, in the Grixis Delver Shell, but I feel like if someone were to use it, it'd be more control, because it's 3 mana, draw 3, lose 3 life, and we lose way too much life already, and we don't want to be spending that much mana in our deck that doesn't do anything else besides just draw cards, especially against decks like Burn, or anything kind of aggro shell. So it could see play, it could eat my words, but I feel like there's like no room in the deck for it. This guy is interesting too, the Zada Hijong Grinder, just because if you have some sort of Suicide Zoo shell, you can be able to pump it up quite nicely and your team, so it actually works well with like Heroic and Prowess. So it could see some play, but it would be very, very brewish. It would not be that good. Woodland Wanderer, 4 mana for a 2/2. That can get at least a 3/3, I'm sorry, because of the green. So it can get up to at least a 7/7, I believe that's what the math goes up to, or a 6/6. And that's just way too much mana for something that doesn't do much on the turn it comes out, so it's not good enough. Bad Sweeper, just the worst rare in the entire set. I think everyone can agree on that. Sorcery Speed Dreadbore, that can make your lands creatures. Too much mana. Radiant Flames. I've heard word on this, but it's just a really bad Anger of the Gods, in my opinion. This guy will definitely help some sort of ally deck just be able to fight against Burn without lifelink ability. Let's see, anything else that's interesting through the rare slots? Not really from like the basic cards. Let me see, what else was I looking at? There's the 1 mana Human Ally Scout. So that one could actually see some play in the ally deck just because it's a 1-drop ally that could help boost the team. Here's another one of the Blood Artist allies, which could be good in the ally deck, or just the Blood Artist Aristocrat deck, just being able to sacrifice creatures, drain your opponent, gain life. So that's always a good shell, but it's definitely not tier 1 or tier 2. Let me see. Anticipate's not bad. Altar's Reap and Bone Splitters are always nice cards, but they just won't see play, or at least major play at least. Dispel, I like the new artwork. Personally, I'm always a fan of like the Lightning Bolt like artworks, so I'll have to be adding this into my deck. My buddy plays a mono white or sometimes green white Enchantress deck, and he thinks Stasis Snare is going to be the bee's knees just because it can get rid of Emrakul at instant speed, which not a lot of cards can do that. So I think that could see a little bit of play in that shell, but other than that, I doubt it will see play. Let me see, what else is interesting? So far, nothing really. Here's another 1-mana ally scout. Let's see, Plummet, that's reprint again. Here's an ally, or an Eldrazi, which is weird because this is the other area. But I like this one, but not in Modern. It's good, very good limited. This one's been getting the most interest right now from the Eldrazi cards, just because with all of the delving that's been going on, this card can just enter the battlefield and just bolt a creature, which is really good in my opinion. So I feel like it could see play. It's 3 mana, so it's not too bad. It dies the bolt, but it does something on a turn it comes in, so it is actually a legitimate card. So I think it could see play. I don't know what kind of shell would want it though, but I feel like it could. It might be a new shell, might be some sort of blue-black control deck, or using Path to Exiles or something and just exiling your creatures and then bringing them back in, using Wasteland Strangler to kill other creatures, so it could see play, but I don't know. This other guy right here, Smothering Abomination, has been pretty interesting too, but I feel like since it's 4 mana, dies to Bolt, it's kind of asking a lot, where it does nothing the turn it comes in, for 4 mana, and then next turn you have to sacrifice creatures. So I feel like this one won't be played. Let's see. Here's another kind of roast kind of card, where instead of having to just deal with non-flyers, it can deal with flyers as well, but you have to return a card from exile into the opponent's graveyard, which I feel like is pretty good. But it's just that it's feeding more of the Tassiger and the Delving kind of creatures. So it could see play in some sort of Splinter Twin sideboard card, or for us against Twin or Control, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. I feel like just Terminate or Murderous Cut's just a better option. Oh man, I was so sad for this card right here, Horribly Awry, because I read that first just counter target spell with converted mana cost 4 or less, and I was just going ballistic. And then my friend asked me why I was going crazy, and I read the card to him out loud, and I was like, crap, it says creature spell. So it's just, I was so sad. I really want that kind of card in Modern, where I can counter card with converted mana cost 3 or less. I feel like 4 or less is too high for it to be in Modern, just because it'll be so broken. I'd love it to be in there, but everyone will be playing it, so I feel like if it was a 3 or less counter target spell, I feel like it'd be home run. I'd play it every day. Let me see. Crumble to Dust. I'm thinking about running this one in the Delver deck just as hate for Scapeshift and Tron, because Tron's definitely a hard matchup, but we have the best chance out of all, besides Splinter Twin. Us and Twin have the best shot for the Grixis decks against this Tron menace, especially since Tron's going to be everywhere now. So we could play it, but at that point I'd rather just play Spreading Seas for 2 mana, deal with it, and draw a card. While this one does get rid of the card completely from the rest of the game. So I feel like it could see a little bit of play, but I don't expect it in our deck. This one people have been saying it's going to be in some sort of Cheerios deck, just because you can play all the mana rocks and all that stuff for 0 mana, and just deal a bunch of damage to them. So I feel like that's another kind of brew deck that they're gonna have to deal with, but Thoughtseize and Negates and stuff that will help you from that. Let's see, what else? Yeah, nothing else from there. These two guys I feel like have the best chance to seeing play in the Modern format, just in Tron. Ulamog, I see it being played as a main deck in flavor of the previous Ulamog just because it can exile 2 permanents. So be prepared turn 10, or be prepared turn 3, or not 3, turn 4 or 5 for this guy right here. This guy right here will come in against, I guess Twin. I'm not sure if it would come in against us just because we have a lot of 1 mana cards. So this is another card that you would have to worry about since it has a 2-turn clock and it shuts down all of the 2 or even mana cost cards that you got. So you got to worry about mana leak, and terminates. But you can side those cards out in that matchup. Oblivion Sower, maybe. I don't see it happening though, just because I've tried it in the dual deck, and it was alright, but it's nothing that we as Delver players would have to worry about as much. I feel like Titan's Presence is going to be another card that they can have against us, just because they can have Ulamog or Emrakul and just have a 3-mana answer to one of our big guys. So this is another card you have to worry about. So Dispel might actually start coming in. I'm not sure though, I doubt it. I still like having Spell Pierce and Mana Leak up. Let me see. This card right here has been really interesting for me because it's as much mana as Cryptic Command, but it has the ability to deal with Etched Champion and another spell, just bounce it back to their hand. It even deals with Abrupt Decay for a turn. So I feel like it could see play, but at the same time, it's 4 mana against Affinity. That's a lot. You're asking for a lot out of that. Just because it's 4 mana against the deck that's planning to kill you before turn 4. So you have to have a lot of interaction at first just to be able to deal with it. So I'd rather just have Hurkyl's Recall instead of this card. But being able to deal with like Abrupt Decays and those kind of cards in the black-green decks, maybe, but it's too much mana in my opinion. It could be good though. Prove me wrong, guys. I'd love to see the card being played though. And I wish this card had flying right here too, because at first I read it almost exactly like, what is it? The Legacy Artifact Creature, the bird, where it's a blue-black, 1/1 flying Death Touch. When it dies or when it enters battlefield, draw a card. I felt it was almost exactly like that until I didn't see any flying and this part right here. That part made me very sad. So I don't expect this in any kind of Delver shell. Yeah, I feel like that's about it from the monocolor cards and the colorless cards. And cards that we have to worry about here, maybe Bring to Light. This has been thought of a little bit for other kind of combo decks just because it can tutor up stuff. But for 5 mana, I feel like we don't have to worry about that as much. This guy, people have been testing this out and saying it's really good in the ally deck. So just prepare for this guy right here with First Strike, Vigilance, or Trample if you tap another ally. Let me see. This land it's just silver high for allies, so if there is an ally deck that pops up and becomes like tier 2 or 3, you can expect that in the deck. Lumbering Falls, I really, really hope our blue-red land is going to be good enough to be played in Delver. While it sucks to have it enter tapped, it could be good enough to be worth the 19th land spot. So being able to take out like maybe a young Pyromancer or something for another land that can become like, people are speculating like it has either prowess, which I hope it doesn't, or some sort of loot effect if it deals damage. I'd prefer to do the loot effect, but I really hope it's not prowess, just because it's really awkward. Because even if the card was just red-blue colorless, or red-blue and you attack, that's still 3 mana. So, yeah, that's pretty much all the cards. I don't see these guys being played that much, just because of how awkward they are. I don't expect any of these to be played. So I'm going to be back in a little bit just to record a matchup against Infect. So check that one out. It should be up in about an hour or so. And I'll see you guys later.